Hi, this tutorial will be very much like Maxim's tutorial on how to get started with robot web services. And the difference is that today we will use the OmniCore controller instead, and we will also use HTTPS and the RobotWebServices API 2.0. Okay, so first off, we create a new cell, new solution with station and virtual controller. We select RobotWare 704. If you don't have it installed, go to add-ins and install RobotWare for OmniCore controllers. You also need to set some configuration here. So in this path there is a file called appwebconf, and this file exists in each of your RobotWare installations. And if you open up that file, you will see that it says from the beginning listen secure -1. And this will make it a bit more troublesome for you, because every time you start a new instance of the controller will get a random port assigned to it. So we basically have to look up what that process is using, what port that process is using, and then use that port to communicate with the controller. So what we can do is that we can force it to use a certain port like this. Furthermore, we need to uncomment these that looks like this from the beginning. So we use the self-signed certificate that is provided with the installation. You can see here it's located down here. And one thing worth mentioning here is that if you work with backups, you could stumble upon a problem here when you have made changes in this file. Because if these settings differentiate from the settings you had in the cell that you're trying to restore the backup from, it won't work. The controller won't start at all. So these settings needs to be the same as for the controller you're trying to restore. So if I have listen secure here 666 and in a certain controller and try to restore it with my appwebconf file set like this, it simply won't work. So if you do changes in this file, it could be a good idea to copy this file and save it somewhere along the back with the backups. You know how to change the file accordingly to make the backup work. Once that is done, you're ready to go. And if you created the station before doing these changes, then you need to do warm start for the changes to apply. And the goal is to be able to modify rapid variables. So create some variable, a persistent one, and then we should try to modify them from robot web services. And I will also use Postman for this. And we will also make use of the manuals And for the API 2.0, the documentation looks like this. So you can see how everything is linked together down here. And also it's a good idea to read this first page here, so you get a better understanding of everything. So the first thing we will need here is the same as in Maxim's video. We need to take Mastership of the robot in order to be allowed to modify these variables. And to do that, we need to go to the user service. And here is a small difference. This time we will request something called RMMP. And a neat thing here, when you're gonna translate this to Postman's format, you could make use of the function here, try it out. And then we say modify. You have modify or exec to choose between, so we say modify. Then we click execute. Then we will have this curl created for us, which we can copy. And in Postman, we can click import. Then raw text. Paste this one. Then we of course need to change this into our local host if that's what we are using. Then we have port 666. Then click continue and import. Alright. So now everything here is filled in for us. So Postman automatically translated that curl into appropriate format. Okay. So for this to work, we will have to open up our flex panel. Then it says access denied, login required. That's because we don't log in. So it should be basic auth and default user. The password is robotics. Send that one. And we get a bad request. That's because we are in auto. So this command requires manual mode. Then status accepted. So what happens now is that request for write access appears. Now you see it disappeared again. So it will appear for 10 seconds and then it disappears again. So if you want to keep that alive, you need to use the RMMP poll request instead. It's also stated here in the manual. If you check poll, it says here the user should use this resource after making RMMP request to keep this request alive after 10 seconds. So if you want to have more time than 10 seconds, then you should in your application, make sure that this request is sent every at least 10 seconds. Alright, so let's send this one again. Accepted. Then grant. Alright, so now we have write access to the controller. And then we can make use of this every time we are unsure of a command. So what we want to do now is we want to write to a modify a variable. See here in symbols. There we go. Update rapid variable current / init value. And here you have a sample response from controller. We can click try it out here. So the symbol URL, what is that? That is the rapid URL. So our variable, if we start with the variable named number, that one is located in rapid, then in rob1, and in my main module. So that should be rapid rob1 main module, and which one was first? Number. Right. Then you have a few choices here. I will leave these as default. You can see that these are required. It says here with the star and required. So we also need to specify a value. So let's set the variable to 55 and then click execute. And once again we will have a curl created for us. However, these curls doesn't always work perfectly, as in this case. You can see here it should be / as we stated before. Should look like this. Right, and of course I forgot to change the address to 127.0.0.1. Right, now we can see forbidden. So what does it say here? Update rapid variable. When updating a rapid variable, Mastership over rapid is required. And we don't yet have Mastership, so we need to take that too, exactly as in Max video. So we go to Mastership service. And Mastership request. Right, then we get the URL. Let's do the same way again. Paste it here, change this one. 127.0.0.1.66. Okay. Continue and import. And in this one, we will actually miss one thing. If you look closely, this one won't work. Unsupported media type, and this is something that Max talks about in his video also. Every time you see this one, you have a problem with your headers. So in this case, we haven't specified the content type. So if you check here, we have content type specified, so we can copy that one. Oops. All right, so now that one is the same. Okay, that seemed to work. Then we can go back to our variable change request. And now we can see that it worked. So what did we send here? In the body we said value 55. So rapid, you can see number 55. Let's make postman smaller. Let's put this one here. And add something else. 999 post. And we have managed to modify our variables. So with a few small changes compared to the API 1.0 and using HTTP. Okay, and one last tip here. When working with the web services API and things doesn't go as you expect, you should take this code that you get, the error code, and go into the original API 1.0 manual, and then find RoboController return codes. This is a list of all the error codes with a description. So if we just press Ctrl F to search and search for that error code, we can see here in this case the user does not have required Mastership for the operation. So searching these error codes is really useful, since this number won't tell you much. Alright, that was it for today. Bye.